Hey, Typology Tribe, Ian Morgan Cron here. Oh, my friends, I am so excited to be with you. I'm here in the Typology Studios with
Woo-woo!
Anthony Skinner.
Ian Cron, how are you doing?
Andiamo a mangiare.
This is a holdover from Italy?
Yeah, man.
Oof. Don't keep rubbing it in.
Hey, man, 5 pounds heavier than I was when I left.
Oh, you came back with some arms. Were you doing push-ups while you're over there?
No, that's just flab hanging off. That's 1,800 pounds of pasta, boar meat ragu. I mean, my gosh, I ate myself across 4 cities in 2 weeks.
Randy and Katie were shooting pictures. So.
They were with me, right? Randy and Katie Williams, my dear friends.
Right.
We laughed and ate
I bet you did.
across the country of Italy in 2 weeks. I'm surprised I got back and I wasn't arrested.
We've got an amazing guest today.
We have an amazing guest today, worth coming back for. Do you have anyone in your life that you just admire so much, that you really know personally, and they're a hero to you?
Yeah.
You have anybody like that?
Yeah, totally.
Who is it? Besides me.
Well, you are one of those people, Ian.
Continue.
I have deep admiration for you, brother. But I would say Bill Johnson, he is a beautiful man, and he has had a big impact on me. He is a mentor, a spiritual father of mine. And then another guy named Jack Nicholson, not the actor, but a therapist and integrative coach. Beautiful man, both those guys.
And they're kind of heroes, right?
They're heroes.
Man, we all need heroes.
Yes.
And our guest today, Becca Stevens, really is one of my heroes. I work with Becca at St. Augustine's. She's an Episcopal priest. She's an author. And here's the deal, man. She is the founder and president of Thistle Farms. Man, I hope everybody knows what Thistle Farms is. It is a global community of survivors of human trafficking, sex trafficking, and addiction. And Thistle Farms is all about justice enterprises. She has been named a White House champion of change, a CNN hero. I saw her. Did you watch the CNN hero thing when she was on it?
Oh my gosh.
Pretty amazing.
Amazing.
She holds numerous honorary doctorates. Man, I wish I had a couple of those. I don't have any of those. She's been featured on the Today Show, ABC, World News, NPR, the New York Times, and her most recent book, which I commend to everybody, Love Heals, was published by Harper Collins. Man, you're going to hear why Becca's a real hero to me.
Oh, she's an absolute force. And I would say even just getting to hang out with some of the women that have been through her program.
Yeah.
It's life-changing.
Yeah, man. And you know what's so cool about this show?
Yeah.
Is that Becca came in really, I love this.
Yeah.
What people are going to hear is somebody coming in to this show not knowing very much about the Enneagram and actually really hesitant about knowing their type.
Yes.
And that's the first we've had on here, and it really evolved into a beautiful conversation. And I just can't wait for people to hear it.
It's moving.
Yeah, it really is. So, my friends, let's not dally any longer.
Let's not.
Let's get into my conversation with my good friend, Becca Stevens. Becca Stevens, welcome to Typology.
Thank you, Ian Cron. It's good to be here. Listen, I'm such a huge fan. It's fun just to have an actual conversation that's being recorded.
Continue.
Yeah. Does that make you a 3?
No, it's just, obviously, you now know the Enneagram better than I thought you did. I have been looking forward to this interview for the longest time.
Oh.
The longest time. Number one, because we work together, right? We do ministry together, which is fantastic. Secondly, because you are this is not BS, you are one of my favorite people on the entire planet.
Oh my gosh, you are mine too. This is going to be easy.
Yeah, I just have so much, not just admiration for who you are and what you're doing in the world, but I just have such a rich affection for you, for the person you are, well apart from any of your amazing achievements and accomplishments, which are really storied. They are quote unquote impressive, but you have moved the needle in the world in terms of bringing healing and shalom and wholeness in places of rivenness and brokenness to me. And you've done it with so much quirky joy, humor, almost this St. Francis-like kind of awe and lyrical language. I mean, you are a person who is has an extraordinary number of superpowers.
Well, you're kind. And I think one of the things, though, about it being fun and humorous and kind of quirky and all that is I think there's a lot of myths around women who have recovered from sexual trauma, prostitution, prison. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, your work must be so hard. It must be, you know, just so terrible. And it's like, you know, we laugh all the time in the community of Thistle Farms that there is tons of joy. There is not a more joyous group of people, and people that will laugh. They'll forgive easy. They'll laugh easy. I mean, we'll cry some for sure, and there are horrible stories. But that stuff is born in this work of justice.
So for our folks, and realizing, I know the story is long and beautiful, but in as sort of efficient a fashion as you can, what is the story? What is the story of you and the story of Thistle Farms? Like, how do they meet? Just
Sure.
help folks understand it.
Well, you know, Thistle Farms has been around for about 23 years, and we provide residential housing, justice, social enterprises, a national network for survivors, and global partnerships with women survivor artisans. So it's, you know, housing, it's jobs, it's a lifelong sisterhood. And my journey intersects with it in that, you know, I'm a survivor myself. My dad was killed when I was really little. And then I went through some horrible years. The guy that stepped in to help my family began abusing me, and it happened beginning at the church where my dad was the pastor. And so I came out resilient and broken and crazy and all of those things, and scared of the world and mad at the world, all of those things. And when I got ordained as an Episcopal priest, what I really wanted to do was start sanctuaries for women to say, you know, look, you don't have to go, this isn't a treatment center, this isn't a halfway house, this isn't prison, this isn't anything but just your home, and enjoy it and tell me what you need for the next 2 years. And that's the story.
And since then, how many women have graduated from Magdalene? I mean, just give us some sense of the scale of things.
Yeah, so it grows really fast, and we're still scaling. We're what is it? Sustainable and scalable model. So in Nashville, we have about 30 residents at any given time living 2 years free with no authority that lives in the house with them. There's about 100 people that work at Thistle Farms. There's now 50 sister communities around the country. I spend tons of time flying around.
I know.
And opening doors for new houses and raising money. And we're in 20 countries now. We have 30 global partners. It's about 1,700 women that work. So it's a lot of women.
Amazing.
It's fun. It's my joy. I promise you. It's like I get to do everything I love. Arts and crafts, justice, preaching, meeting people. I get to share stories, one of my favorite things in the world. So, I love it all. I really do. I can't believe it, but I do.
I mean, well, I get to witness your joy, and I get to witness the life-giving dimension of what you do as it courses through you, as you speak, as you interact with people. I mean, I just feel so richly. I mean, I guess the way I'd put it is, and this about how I feel. Every time I'm with you, I feel enlarged. I just feel like my soul and my heart become more spacious and more open and energized and moved at what compassion and empathy and a hunger for justice and humor and in the hilarity in that real sense of the word. You know what I mean? Like, it's not flippant. It's like, hey man, life is hard, but you know what? Let's not forget the absurdity and the irony in the whole thing, because if the journey is, missing that component, it's horrible. So, I mean, everything you're saying about your journey and the things that you've done, I mean, you just radiate so much goodness and hope and resurrection is what you just radiate resurrection.
Oh, well, I think, I think, Ian, you know this, like, if the news was what we saw when we swiped left on our phone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's horrible and it's depressing, and I may not get out of bed and may not laugh that much. Well, I mean, some of it's funny, but truly, like, the news that I get to participate in, the making of the news in this world of people, there's so many people that have compassion and want to hope and want to be enlarged and want to join together to make a difference. And it's like, there's a lot of good news, and it kind of does. It's a beautiful way to experience life. You know, my whole advice to people is run to community. Run, don't walk. You know, it's true. I mean, it's like, if you want to be involved in action and justice and feel really deep and good about this world and live with meaning and go to bed tired, run to community. They're going to ask more of you than you want. They're going to hold you up. Safe community, obviously. Right. But I think that's where it's like, it's been my saving grace, being found in communities.
So one of the things we've laughed about before is, I remember when my book, The Road Back to You, came out, you said, "Oh, I can't wait to read this book about the angiogram," or you called it the enneagram.
No, I called it the anagram. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like a mix-up of a lot of different words that you were like dog and God.
Like anagrams,
yeah.
Right? Like I read a book about anagrams, right? So, which is, it's St. Augustine's, right? There are a lot of Enneagram fans, right? A lot of, I know on the staff, you're kind of surrounded by a number of people who dig the Enneagram, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But you have, because you're an outspoken, fun person who doesn't often have an idea go through your head that doesn't get expressed, you've told me before, like, I really am a little scared of the Enneagram.
I am. That's true.
Why?
I do know why. I just want to say, first of all, it's not because I don't love your books. I love your books. St. Francis was life-changing for me. Loved it, Chasing Francis. But I think of it as a diagnosis, and I'm scared of all diagnoses in this world.
Why is it?
I have no idea. I mean, I think it probably stems back from the first story I told about somebody in the church, taking control and then abusing me in a horrible way for years. So authority is not really safe or good for me. And I think people who have that history sometimes might have that same feeling. I don't know. But for me, it's almost like, I think whatever the bad number is, what if you pick that one out for me and put that on me? And then what will I be? Or tell me the best number. That's the one I'll choose. I'll answer the questions in a way to get to that number. I don't necessarily trust everybody that's answering the questions, nor everybody that's putting the number to that person. And maybe I think also, too, it's like maybe I'm part lots of numbers. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember I was okay when I learned I was an Aries. I can live with Aries. That's right. My zodiac sign. And then I remember I was INTJ. Mm-hmm. When Myers-Briggs. Yeah. I had to take that in order to get ordained.
You're an I? Uh-huh. You're an introvert. Uh-huh. Okay.
Is that wrong?
No.
Is that the bad one?
No.
No. But so in order to get ordained at that point, you had to take the Myers-Briggs. That was going to give us all this insight about ourselves. It was going to help us in this way. And I did that one. And then there was another one that happened. What was the other one?
DISC?
Maybe it was DISC.
Right.
And I didn't do that. And then I just was like, at that point, it's been 25 years, and I think, I wonder am I still an Aries? Am I still an INTJ? Do you grow past that stuff?
Yeah, right. Hey, Typology Tribe, I want to thank our new sponsor, Hemp Fusion. As a writer, I tend to overuse my hands writing and typing, so I have added CBD to my daily routine to help reduce inflammation. But, as you probably know, there's a lot of confusion around CBD these days. Unlike other brands who offer just CBD, Hemp Fusion combines CBD and omegas with natural ingredients to help the body absorb CBD better. Hemp Fusion is available online and at natural products retailers near you. And just for Typology listeners, you can get 20% off your first order and free shipping. That's right, you can get 20% off your first order and free shipping. Just visit hempfusion.com. That's HEMPFUSION.com and enter the promo code Typology, TYPOLOGY. Again, that's hempfusion.com and the promo code Typology. Well, one of the reasons I've really looked forward to this conversation, number one, is because I love hanging with you, but secondly, because, you're one of the very few people who've come on the show who, A, doesn't really know a ton about the Enneagram, secondly, really doesn't know your type, right?
Don't.
And so I don't know what's going to happen on this show, except it's going to be a lot of fun somehow or another. And I guess the thing that I want folks to know is that, guess what? Not everybody is going to go rushing toward the Enneagram with a tremendous amount of enthusiasm, right? It's not necessarily going to be a journey that everybody wants to take. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's and people will approach it from different angles. I think one of the things you just mentioned that's so important for people to understand is just the role of trauma. Mm-hmm. I've experienced trauma growing up with an alcoholic dad and abuse and my own struggles with addictions over the years, and on and on. I think trauma makes the journey towards self-understanding difficult because lots of other when there's trauma, you get a lot of overlay, over personality. You know what I mean? And so kind of trying to come to an understanding of your personality style becomes more complicated for people with trauma. Second of all, people with trauma may come with a certain degree of hesitation, as you've expressed, and reticence about, well, what is this? I don't want to get trapped into some kind of a box or a label.
Yeah.
And often what at times I tell people, though, is, that the Enneagram doesn't put you in a box so much as it tells you about the box you're already in and how to get out.
Oh, that's a beautiful way of saying it. Yeah, that makes sense to me. That I'm already in a place, and this is a better self-understanding. How will it help me make money?
Boom.
How will it further the mission of Thistle Farms? I mean, what happens to people like, okay, so you learn about this box you're in to do it, but what's the goal of it?
Yeah. Well, I think the first goal is self-knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a reformed guy, by a long shot, but I do think there's some wisdom in this idea. Well, let me just give you a quote from St. Augustine, right? And since both of us, you're the rector at St. Augustine's, and I am, on the volunteer,
residential theologian,
whatever that means.
Oh, theologian in residence.
That's it, right.
Theologian in
We had
residence.
to give it a name of something,
yes.
Right? Yeah. St. Augustine once said, he used to pray, Lord, let me know myself that I may know thee. Mm. And that is a quote right from Augustine. Calvin said something very, very similar, which was, there is no knowledge of God without knowledge of self. And I think that actually the church has lost this vision that we've been so consumed with, I got to know God, at the exclusion of knowing myself. In fact, sometimes I think people use religion as a way to defend themselves against having to know who they are, so that the focus becomes all external versus, reflecting and thinking about, well, who am I inside and what does that tell me about who God is?
Right. And I also think religion has been used a lot to specifically not let people know themselves or to shut down any self-awareness. We have a woman who is in the program right now at Thistle Farms who was raised in a very, very, very fundamentalist cult. I mean, which was a cesspool for child brides and incest. I mean, she has a man's name tattooed in Hebrew on her arm, the branding that goes on. And I think it's actually been used almost like what you're saying, but like on steroids, to say, do not have a thought, do not know yourself, only know what I tell you. is true.
Right. Yeah. So in its extreme, it's like be afraid of who you are.
And of course, that's all the people I see all the time are living in that extreme.
Yeah, right.
You know, so I mean, I see it and I feel it like in a real way. And there's been a million ways over the years, even, you know, obviously before the Enneagram, where people find paths to know themselves. Mm-hmm. And so this is one of the tools to help people know themselves, but it's not like if you haven't done this, it doesn't mean that you haven't been on a journey to know yourself.
I love what you said, be afraid of who you are, or even be afraid to find out who you are.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And I guess, and you know, I've had in all honesty, a rocky road on the recovery road. And you've been such a beautiful part of my journey of healing and learning. And one of the things I've just learned is, man, if you don't know about and face your shadow, and when I say shadow, it's not just what's dark about you, but also what's most beautiful about you. Mm-hmm. Then you are moving through the world usually with such self-limiting and self-defeating patterns of thinking, acting, and feeling. Mm-hmm. And so self-knowledge, you know, is I think a route, a journey toward understanding who you are, that you might live in the world with more wisdom. You can move through the world with more wisdom. And you will do less banging guardrail to guardrail through people's lives if you know what's best about you and what's worst about you, and be able to learn how to monitor and regulate the ways that you predictably and habitually act, think, and feel, so that you're like, oh, here it comes. Here's this repeating pattern that is going through my life all the time.
So in your mind, like in experience with everybody, and including yourself, what makes people bump into the guardrail? Like when you say like that, when you bumped into that guardrail, is it because it's like there's blinders on? Is it because I do know the truth, but I'm acting in my own a different way just because I want to? I mean, what is it?
I think most people go through life asleep. I think most people go through life on autopilot. I think that most people go through life with so much unacknowledged, unprocessed material, but underneath the waterline of consciousness, that there are motives and errant beliefs, and that are old scripts and patterns from childhood that we pick up, real or perceived messages, either through trauma. I mean, in some ways, the Enneagram, let me put it this way.
Okay.
This is kind of an interesting way of thinking about it. The Enneagram, your type may be the way that you first began to deal with trauma. Mm-hmm. In other words, your type is, how did I, as a little person, and everybody got trauma, so nobody gets off the hook.
Right.
Right? You know, in some ways, your type will reveal to you the way that you essentially dealt with trauma. Mm-hmm. Well, what did you just say?
I said, except for my kids. I'm totally teasing.
That's right.
My
your kids,
feral
no
children.
Trauma. Yeah, they grew up in Eden.
Right.
Absolutely.
No, no one escapes it, is what you're saying.
Nobody
And because
escapes
of that, what happens?
Well, I think we develop a personality that's loaded with sort of defensive stratagems, ways of coping in the world, and it was really important for us as little people. So I don't want to in any way say it was bad. It was necessary, right? Mm-hmm. But lots of the things that helped you survive the morning of life in the evening of life come back to haunt you and hurt you, because they don't work anymore. Mm. Now, that's not to say that the Enneagram wants you to delete your personality and start over because it's bad. It's beautiful. But there are dimensions or aspects of it that you have to decouple from because they don't work anymore. They worked for you when you were being abused, or they worked for you growing up in an alcoholic family or in a perfect family, but where you got messages that were painful and hurtful. Hey, Typology Tribe, I want to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors for helping us bring you what I hope is great content every week. Now, you all know, obviously, I'm a psychotherapist, and so I'm a big proponent of counseling. So, whether you feel like something is interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving certain goals, counseling is a great tool to help identify what those blocks are and then work through them. Yet, and I think probably many of you know this, finding a therapist can sometimes feel intimidating. Here comes the good news. BetterHelp offers online counseling at your own time and your own pace. You can schedule secure video or phone sessions plus text and chat with your therapist when it's convenient for you. That's huge, right? These are licensed professional counselors who specialize in things like depression, anxiety, stress, relationships, LGBT matters, trauma, and grief. BetterHelp has counselors available worldwide and have over 3,000 U.S. licensed therapists across all 50 states. And get this, if you're not satisfied with your counselor for any reason, you can request a new one at any time at no additional cost. Best of all, it's a truly affordable option. And as a special offer for Typology listeners, BetterHelp is offering 10% off your first month with the discount code Typology Podcast. So why not get started today? Go to BetterHelp.com/TYPOLOGYPODCAST. Simply fill out a questionnaire to help them assess your needs and get matched with a counselor you will love. Again, that's BetterHelp.com/Typology Podcast, TYPOLOGYPODCAST. BetterHelp.com/Typology Podcast. Check them out. What child doesn't get the message growing up? I don't care how good your family is, but in this broken world, what child doesn't get the message? There is something about you that does not conform or live up to the desires of the important people in your life.
I know. I mean, I hear you. I guess what I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking when you say it doesn't work for you anymore. What does that mean? I don't understand what that means. Like it doesn't work for you.
So I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. I'm going
to be a 4 too then.
Okay.
For these purposes, I too am a 4 because I want to be like you.
Okay, so a 4 is called the Individualist. And I'll go through these with you in a second because I want to actually see if we can't maybe make a first step on the journey toward understanding maybe what your way of being in the world, your type is, okay? So for a 4, the Individualist, the unconscious motivation that runs in the unconscious world for most 4s until they start to do their work is, I need to be special and unique because there is something fundamentally flawed at the core of who I am. And I need to almost compensate by being kind of special, unique in the world in order to find belonging. Because 4s are notoriously, they believe that they're so different from other people, that no one really understands them, that there's something off. There's some deficiency at their core. They can't name it. It's almost always unnameable. It's a feeling. It's a sense. Like there's just something off about me. We're in what's called the shame triad. Shame is a major theme that runs through the life of a 4. We tend to struggle with envy. We call that our passion. 4s are always comparing themselves to other people and coming up short. And they tend to envy other people's happiness. We tend to be melancholy. We tend to look at other people and think, gosh, those people look like they really fit in the world. They found a place to belong. They seem well adjusted. And by the way, they all went to better schools. They all have better houses. They all have better cars. They all have better jobs and better, what's wrong with me? Again, this sense of why do I live on the aisle of misfit toys? And why do I feel like somewhere along the line I did something wrong, but even more, that I am something wrong? And that wrongness actually disqualifies me from really belonging. And so I think that's the way a 4 thinks. You're shaking your head like,
no, I don't want to be a 4. I'll go 5. What's 5?
All right. So for me as a 4, that story helped me understand the world as a little person. You know, like, this is the way the world is. This is how the world works. This is who I am in the world. And all of us need that as a little person. You know, who am I? Where do I belong? You know, these are the kinds of questions we need to answer. And for a 4, you know, that's kind of the way they see the world. And as painful as it is, it's a story, and everybody needs a story. Mm-hmm. Now, that story helped me become a writer. And I wrote songs out of that sort of worldview. I mean, how many, you know, your husband's a Grammy Award-winning songwriter. He's a Hall of Fame, in the Country Music Hall of Fame as of this year, right? Fantastic.
Yeah, isn't that exciting?
You know, how many songwriters do we know who, out of that worldview, wrote some incredible songs, right?
Do you remember? I have a memory. Marcus and I had been, we'd only been married a few years. And one day he was, you know, in his blue period, as he called it. And I said, do you want to go talk to somebody? Like, do you want to go see a therapist? And he goes, no, it works good for me.
Yeah, right. Totally. Exactly. So there's the beautiful thing in the shadow.
Yeah.
That's called in Jungian psychology, that's called the golden shadow. That's the beautiful part of who he is. And out of that type, right, can emerge beautiful things. But if you carry the shame, if you carry the message of I don't belong into the world, if you can continue to carry that into adulthood, it is really limiting and defeating you in some profound ways, right? And people go into autopilot on these stories, you know, and they live in them, and they make the same mistakes over and over again in them, and they wonder to themselves, why do I keep doing this? And how do I break free of those limiting aspects of my personality that no longer serve me? So I think that's part of the healing beauty of the Enneagram. It's like you start to realize I'm more than my personality. That my personality is a part of who I am, but it's not all of who I am.
Right.
And that's a beautiful, freeing moment. And the Enneagram provides a growth path. You know, let me give you an example of this. So at church on Easter, last Easter, I'm on the altar. We're having this, you know, it's huge. We're having this gigantic celebration. I mean, if any of you are in Nashville at Easter, you got to come to St. Augustine's because it is a blast, right?
It is a blast.
It is a blast.
The music alone.
Oh, man. And so I'm on the altar, and I don't remember who they were, but there was a guy in the front row wearing a seersucker suit, and standing next to him was a 10-year-old wearing a seersucker suit, and they're both wearing bow ties, and he's got his arm around that boy. And I looked over at him, and part of me went, why didn't I have that as a kid growing up? Why? And I started to go there. Envy, comparing, melancholy, starting to tell the story, that part of my story that no longer serves me to make sense of the world. And I was like, because I know the Enneagram, I was able to go, whoa, stop now. You can continue down this road. You are free to continue down this road. But dude, this is Easter. This is Resurrection Day. This is not the day to be playing the envy card and going all 4 on this thing. You are actually, Lazarus, come out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to live this story anymore.
Right.
You know? You can live out of the best side of being a 4, but you don't have to be held down by the tragic, unhappy side of the 4. And that's true for every type. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's beautiful. When you talk about it, it's beautiful, Ian. Truly. And I think, you know, I can see all the folks I know who have done this have done beautiful work on that, and they have a language I don't understand even, you know. And then I always think there's also people out there who, you know, basically have taken Psychology 101 and they're numbering everybody.
Yes. Okay. So has part of your resistance to the Enneagram been that you have run into people who have weaponized the Enneagram and run around labeling people and being obnoxious with it and pounding people over the head with it, can't stop talking about it? You know what I mean? Has that been part of it?
It's like categorizing somebody, like if you can say they're ADD, then you can dismiss them. Oh, he's a 2. I don't know what the number would be.
Right. Well, everybody, listen to me.
Okay, I'm listening.
Don't do that.
Yeah, over a beer.
Yeah, I mean, just don't. Just don't do it. Because it actually doesn't serve the world well. Let people go on their own journey with it, or not.
Yeah.
But please don't foist limited amounts of knowledge usually onto other people and think you know more about them because you quote unquote know their type, and chances are you don't anyhow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand.
But I love what you're saying though about the idea of it being a path towards freedom and a path that is about loving God.
Oh yeah.
Through the knowledge of self. I love that, Ian.
Totally. I oftentimes tell people, I remember when I first read Karl Rahner, the theologian, when I was in seminary, and he was the only theologian who made me cry. And the reason was...
Wait, did you read Howard Thurman?
Yeah, no, I didn't read Howard Thurman.
He would have made you weep.
Yeah, I mean, I have in the years since.
Yeah,
but,
I love him.
But Karl Rahner really did, because he would say, if you want to get to know God, get to know yourself. I mean, essentially that. Because you're the best, if you are made in God's image, you are the best sort of primary source material you got. You know what I'm saying? So I tell people, if you want to know God, get a little self-knowledge, because if you're made in the image of God, you're going to learn a lot from yourself about the nature of who God is.
That's beautiful. I remember being on a trip, when I go around the country and I'm opening up houses or raising money for people, I always travel with women who are graduates of the program. And I remember I was up in Michigan, and a woman who had been trafficked since about the age of 13, she went down to a truck stop to get a hitch ride out of her house and stayed out there for 15 years. And she came with me, and we were staying in a hotel, and she has her own hotel room, and she said, it's the first time I've ever stayed in a hotel where I don't have to have sex.
Wow.
And I said, well, are you scared, or are you feeling... She goes, no, I'm fine. She goes to the room, and about 10 minutes later, there's a knock on my door. And she goes, can I come in? And I'm like, absolutely. And she said, the weirdest thing just happened. I started brushing my teeth, and I looked in the mirror, and I saw something beautiful. And that was the first time she'd ever seen that. Wow. And she didn't even know what to do with it. And we just sat there and cried and laughed and talked a little bit about, like, what if you do think you're beautiful? What does that mean? And how can you hold on to that glimpse that you just saw? That's the other thing, is it goes back immediately to, I suck, I have so much shame, I'm so sad, But when you glimpse it, it is stunning.
And I one of my hopes for people who do the Enneagram is they have those moments.
Yeah.
Now, part of the journey is you got to kind of go through the crap too. I mean, in order to get to that, you have to acknowledge, okay, where are the broken pieces? Where are the amends I have to make? Where's the brokenness that as it relates to my type that needs to be owned and put on a leash and fed kibble from time to time, but not let it run your life. You know what I mean? But I do hope that, and I try and do this in my workshops with people, to say, it's like what I remember the Dalai Lama once said. He said, you're perfect. You just need a little work. And we hold this imbalance, right? Yeah. You're perfect and you need a little work, and I want people to walk out thinking, I am so beautiful. And of course, that's frightening for people, because it's actually really hard for people to own their beauty, because I think what happens in that situation is, like you just said, well, now what do I do?
Right.
If I'm this beautiful, I'm on the hook. I actually have to go in the world and be beautiful and be accountable to that beauty and responsible for taking care of that beauty and making sure that beauty shines and nothing gets in the way of it. And I do think what the Enneagram does is it helps you remove obstacles from your beauty really shining through. And to me, that's an amazing mission. Want to know your type?
Sure.
Did you hear all that talking there? Even after all I just said, all that like poetry, I just unleashed on her.
I absolutely do.
I just unleashed all that poetry. She went, sure.
Sure. Give it to me. I've already done it.
All right, so
in your mind.
here's just a. I'll give you a couple of just a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
And we may not get there today in this conversation because the journey it's not something you go, okay, here, it's so simple, because it's not simple oftentimes finding your type. So I just want to alert you and others, hey, we may not get there today, but let's just see what the journey beginning looks like.
I'm in.
Okay.
I wouldn't be here if I wasn't. I'm totally present and awoke.
Oh, right. Hey, everybody, I want to tell you about my friend Michael Cusick and Restoring the Soul. You know, one of the lessons I've learned, Anthony, is that not everybody benefits from a traditional 50-minute hour or even from the typical weekly sessions. And this is why some people, even though they may have a great therapist, can go to couples therapy or personal counseling for months or even years. Some folks, you know, they never really get anywhere if they're just going on a weekly basis. They don't make any progress. So this is why I'm such a fan and a believer in the intense counseling process at Restoring the Soul in Colorado. Restoring the Soul was created by my longtime friend Michael Cusick, who helps couples and individuals experience deep change in half-day blocks over 1 or 2 weeks. Michael and his team know that sometimes you can't wait months or years, Anthony, to get to the bottom of an issue or experience breakthrough. So I want you to get a hold of Michael and his team if you really feel like you're in a rut and you can't wait months or years. You can call Restoring the Soul for a free consultation. That's 303-932-9777 and learn how their intensive counseling process can jumpstart your journey or launch you to a whole new place in life. Make sure to visit www.restoringthesoul.com/typology to download their PDF called Anthony. And now, back to our guest. So, when you make decisions, or do you tend to make them from your head, your heart, or your gut?
Decisions come quickly for me.
Tell me about that.
Decisions come quickly. Like I can be thinking about something and then an idea arises and it makes sense in my head and it makes sense in my heart and it makes sense in my gut. I think they come I've started 7 not-for-profits looking at justice issues and figuring things out, and they're all doing well. Like, they're good ideas. So I trust myself on those ideas. Or like naming a baby. Like, I just think it just comes to me. What does that mean?
Nothing yet. Nothing. It's not bad or good. It just is.
No,
people tend to everybody has the ability to obviously think, feel, right? And or to make decisions from their head and from their heart and from their gut. And all three get used by everybody.
My best decisions are when I'm in bed.
Right.
And the noise has all gone away and I can hear myself. Like I can hear I can hear my thoughts. And I feel like, yep, that's it. Like I can write sermons. That's why I have to go in a bath. I have to go in my bed. I have to go somewhere like I can't write a mission statement in a committee. Right. But I have to get really quiet to hear.
Okay. So in the order, let's just say of those three, which one in your mind would be the dominant one? Like,
I would say it's probably my head, and that head has to resonate with my heart and gut.
Okay, so you sort of make decisions based on logic or about what makes sense to you, or is it on intuition, or is it on, feelings? Is it on feelings, thoughts, and intuition? Which of those three would be?
No, because I would say the words like it makes complete sense. It would make something that would have to make sense. It wouldn't be a hunch.
Right.
It wouldn't be like a stab in the dark. Like I feel pretty sure about it. Like I've thought it through.
Okay. So I'm going to just give you 9 statements.
Okay.
And when I hit one that really resonates with you, you may just raise your hand. All right.
Well, that's not good for podcasts.
Well, no, I'll let people know when you raise your hand.
Okay, I'll tap the mic.
Okay, you tap the mic. All right.
Okay.
I'll be the narrator.
So the first one would be...
Yeah, you be the narrator.
So these are what's called unconscious motivations.
Okay.
All right.
Can you raise your hand more than once or solely
No, you
once?
can raise it more than once.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, you are all 9 numbers. So
Thank
let me
you.
make that clear. We're all 9 numbers, but there's just one
Okay.
that we identify with the unconscious motivation with that type more than with the other 8.
Okay.
Okay? First one. I have a need, and sometimes these are compulsive needs for all 9 types. I have a compulsive need to perfect myself, others, and the world. This type is called the perfectionist.
No.
2s are called the helpers, and their unconscious motivation is, they would say, I have a need to meet the needs of others and in order to win their love and approval.
No.
3s are called the achievers.
I'm going to quit saying no between every one of them. Wait till the end so I can hear them all.
Okay, well, no, but okay.
Okay.
We can go back and you can
Okay.
change your mind. That's fine. 3s are called the achievers. Their unconscious, they would say, I have a need to succeed and to appear successful and to avoid failure at all costs.
I would say that's close. That's close as on any of them. But I don't want to. Can I? Maybe there's another one, but that's pretty close.
Okay, that's fine.
That's pretty close. I really don't want to mess up.
Okay.
Not perfectionist, but like, oh, I'll figure it out where this is going to work.
All right.
For sure.
So, cool. So we'll circle back,
Okay.
right? And we'll just sort of eliminate
Okay.
some, and then we'll
Okay.
circle around. All right. So 4s, you've already heard. I have a need to be special and unique. So I think, we've got members of our congregation. We got a lot of 4s. We got a lot of songwriters, a lot of artist types, a lot of therapists. We got a lot of really cool, interesting people that way. I would say, because he's been on the show, I'm not outing anybody, like Matthew Perryman Jones is a 4.
Mm-hmm. I don't really have that shame thing.
Okay. Great. I don't think you're a 4, by the way.
Okay.
Now, I can't type you, but
Yeah.
I don't, knowing you.
I don't feel that.
Now, there is a subtype
Now, I
of
do
4.
want Jesus, like if he's feeding 5,000 on the hillside, I want
Right.
him to go by and recognize me.
All right, we're getting closer. All right, so 5s,
Okay.
they're called the investigators. They have a need to know and perceive. That's a deep need for them. So they tend to be knowledge
Need
hoarders.
to do what?
To perceive and understand, and they're knowledge hoarders. They tend
No.
okay. 6s are called the loyalists. And the loyalists have a need to feel safe and secure. So that's a primary need for them. They tend to be worst case scenario thinkers, and but interestingly, and this is something you mentioned the word authority earlier. So let me just throw something out at you. There are 2 types of 6s. It's the only number that has 2 variants, but I would say that 6s just tend to run between 2 poles. Authority is a big issue for 6s.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in charge? They want to know if the authority figure is trustworthy, not trustworthy. They tend to be suspicious of authority figures, and they kind of vacillate between wanting to either rebel against the authority figure or submit to the authority figure. Because in their mind, okay, you're just shaking your head now.
No, not even thinking about that
All right,
one.
7s.
But the other thing is I don't want to ever live safe.
Oh, okay. There you go. I don't want to actually. I think I could eliminate some of these numbers really fast with you because I know you well.
Okay.
But I'm just giving it all to you, right?
Gotcha.
So 7s are called the enthusiasts.
Oh, I am very enthusiastic.
Oh, I know that. Oh, I know that. So 7s have they have a need to pursue adventure, escapades, fun. It's all about fun. It's all about, all in service to avoiding difficult feelings.
No.
Okay.
I like difficult feelings.
You do?
Uh-huh. I don't like them in me. I like them in other people. I like to be there for other people and their difficult feelings.
So empathy is a big value for you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, like I can cry with anybody. I can cry
Okay.
with anybody on this planet. If you started crying right now, I could cry with you.
I've seen it.
And I can feel it. I mean, like I can feel it in my bones.
Okay.
When my husband's back, when Marcus's back goes out, my back hurts.
Wow.
That's probably not good. I probably shouldn't have said that to you. Don't judge. Remember, y'all, we're not judging on this
No,
one.
there's no judgment. This
Okay.
is judgment-free zone. Okay, 8s are called the challengers.
Mm-hmm.
8s have a need to be strong, to assert strength and control over the environment and other people in order to mask weakness or vulnerability.
I feel like I want to present strong, but I feel like I do that through vulnerability.
Okay.
So it's not to mask vulnerability, but
Right.
vulnerability, I like being strong, and I think vulnerability is the path to that.
Do you think, what were you like though as a 25-year-old? Would you have said that about yourself then, or would you have just said...
Well, I was in divinity school, and they really praised, when you're doing your spiritual autobiography and all that. I mean, I never had any of that stuff. I mean, our whole family was so broken open when my dad was killed by the drunk driver. My mom was 35 with 5 kids and thrust into poverty. And she was really, really strong. But she was also, she was vulnerable with us.
Right.
So I feel like I don't see those as opposing. So I'm probably not an 8. So far I'm sticking with 3.
We don't know yet. We don't know yet.
Okay. But I definitely think I like to present, like, listen, I got this. Like, like if something's going bad in the community of Thistle Farms, I will be the rock that you can come to. I will be the lighthouse shining while you're in your rocky boat.
Mm-hmm. So 8s are very concerned with matters of justice.
Yes, then I am an 8.
Well, maybe.
Okay.
Other numbers would be not necessarily.
Okay.
1s can be, 6s can be, but for 8s, fairness, justice, standing up for the underdog.
Yes.
Is a gigantic theme.
I love that.
All right, all of you typology listeners, I hope you have enjoyed part 1 of our 2-part series with the beautiful and fantabulous Becca Stevens. Be sure and stick around next week. The conversation just gets deeper and we really begin to land on what number she is. Until then, we hope you have a fantastic week. Hey, that's it for me, Anthony Skinner. We love you all. We are super grateful for your listenership. Thanks to you all. We look forward to seeing you right here next week. Until then, grace and peace.